Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. I'm going to ask for two opinions this afternoon. Number one, folks, what's your opinion of the Ottawa Senators moving to LeBreton Flats? The proposal by the Senators to build an arena at the western edge of LeBreton Flats has been chosen by the NCC in the bid competition. When construction will start, we don't know. I suppose there's always a chance it will not go ahead, but right now I think the odds are that, yep, we're going to see a new arena. We're going to see the Ottawa Senators move from West End, Ottawa, Canadian Tire Place to LeBreton Flats. What's your opinion? Good move? Bad move? Indifferent? Doesn't matter to you? And I think there's also the question, what happens to Canadian Tire Place? I'm going to tell you that if Canadian Tire Place is bulldozed, not utilized in some fashion, it's going to be devastating for a lot of businesses in this area. I mean, there's no question that a lot of the restaurants that exist around here rely heavily upon not just the hockey games, but as you know, I mean, Canadian Tire Place is used very frequently for various entertainment. So I don't know what's going to happen, but what's your opinion of the move? A good idea or not? Second question. Oh boy, here we go again. In your opinion, have we caught our Prime Minister in yet another scandal? Or is he telling the truth when he denies it? How many scandals would this be? Let me count them. Holy doodle. I don't think I have enough fingers on my hands to count the scandals this guy's been involved in. By now, you probably know the story. Try and summarize it. According to the man in charge of the investigation into the Nova Scotia mass shooting, 22 people killed in the mass shooting in Nova Scotia. According to the man in charge of that investigation in Nova Scotia, RCMP Superintendent Darren Campbell, he was pressured by RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki to release information about the gun used by the killer. According to written notes by Campbell himself, Lucki wanted to know, how come you haven't released information about the gun? And I guess Campbell said, well, we're busy doing other things, and our investigation is ongoing, and we're not prepared to release that information. According to Campbell, and also, by the way, this is backed up by Leah Scanlon, who's Director of Communications for the Nova Scotia Mounties. Lucki asked why they hadn't released the information about the gun, pointing out it was important to release the information because it related to impending Liberal gun registration in Parliament. According to Campbell's written notes, she said she had promised both Trudeau and Security Minister Bill Blair that information concerning the gun would be released because it would, quote, help them pass legislation relating to gun registration in the Commons. In other words, if what Campbell and Scanlon say and wrote in their notes is correct, the Liberals wanted to use the worst mass slaying in Nova Scotia history to help them politically. Whew, can you imagine? The Conservatives have called for full-scale public inquiry. But as usual, the Liberals are refusing to answer questions. Bill Blair says, oh, I'm sure it didn't happen, etc., etc. Jagmeet Singh, who of course continues to keep the Liberals in power, in his usual fashion, deplores political interference in the administration of justice, according to him, but He refuses to take any kind of stand against the Liberals. So there will not be, you can be sure, there will never be a public inquiry. Bill Blair, the helpless and hapless former Minister of Public Safety, is denying that the government tried to interfere in a police investigation. But I mean, both he and Trudeau have been caught in so many barefaced lies. It's bloody hard to believe either one of those guys, okay? So this afternoon, your chance. Who do you believe? Written notes of the man in charge of the investigation, Darren Campbell, backed up by Leah Scanlon, communications director for the Mounties, both of whom say the same thing, that Brenda Lucki, commissioner, RCMP commissioner, asked them why they hadn't released information concerning the gun and claimed that she had promised both Trudeau and Blair that information concerning the gun would be released, which would help them politically in the House of Commons. So who do you believe? Campbell, Scanlon, or Trudeau and Blair? And you know, every time Trudeau denies being involved in a scandal, it's just a flashback to the series of lies that he uttered, particularly to Globe and Mail reporters, when they asked him if he had interfered or tried to interfere in any way with Jody Wilson-Raybould, who was Justice Minister at the time, concerning the investigation into Lavalin. No, said Trudeau. No, said many times, including in the comments. He barefaced lied, saying that he had not tried to interfere. We now know, of course, that he did. You know, Jody Wilson recorded some of the pressure that he applied. So, I mean, who do you believe, folks? And if in fact this is true, if in fact Bill Blair and Justin Trudeau tried to interfere in a police investigation into a mass shooting in Nova Scotia for political reasons, wanting to release gun information, which they said would help him pass gun legislation, what should happen? There are a number of cries, a number of people, including some columnists who ordinarily support the Liberals, who are saying that all three of them should resign: Trudeau, Lucki, and Blair. If there are any, let me ask you a third opinion here, okay? Just thought of this.
I'm running out of room on the screen, Lowell.
Okay.
For questions.
It's all right. This is just an ancillary question here.
All right, sir.
If there are resignations, of the three, Trudeau, Blair, and Lucki, who do you think would be the first to walk the plank? Who is most likely to be the sacrificial goat? Oh boy, I tell you, what a web we leave. What a web we weave when first we practice to deceive. What a bunch. And you know, it was actually Debbie who when we were talking about this morning, I said, you know, this group is not only incompetent, but I mean, they're corrupt. And she said, not only that, they seem to find each other. Your thoughts, folks. Lines, once again. John, tell us how to get in touch with me.
All right. We love your phone calls. 613-413-2217. Again, 613-413-2217. Facebook, you can follow Milkman Show, The Lowell Green, or Blast the Radio and post your comments where you ordinarily do. We're also on Twitch, and we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube as well. All of your show links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green, or just go to lowellgreen.com. Cheryl says Brenda Lucki will be thrown under the bus, and Trudeau will walk out smelling like a rose.
One of the questions, too, I have is, almost every time there's a scandal breaking like this, Trudeau manages to be outside the country. Now he, I don't know. Like, does he know in advance that these things are going? I don't know what it is. He's in Rwanda now. Why the hell he's in Rwanda? God only knows. Maybe it's the last place that'll let him in. I don't know. Go ahead.
Wasn't he supposed to be isolating? I've lost track. All right. Carrie says she believes the RCMP. Lucki will be the goat, says Coraline. In order, Lucki, Blair, Trudeau will never resign. We will have to kick him out. Blair is as corrupt as Justin is, says Lisa. She adds that Trudeau must have a slush fund specifically for the scandals, a buy-off system for mouth shutting. Also on YouTube, Tony says, I hear China admires Canada basic dictatorship.
Beautiful. Okay, maybe China will treat us a little nicer now. Lower the price on some of its junk furniture. Go ahead, John.
Trudeau has a strange ability to disappear, says Cheryl, whenever the crap is going to fly. Terry, I don't read that name. It's offensive to me. I'm not reading that. Please use his name is Jagmeet Singh. Can we use his name, please? It's Trudeau's superpower knowing when to get out of Dodge, i.e. that scandal is about to surface. Slime dog millionaire. Carrie adds, outside the country, or is he found to be positive for COVID?
Well, now right. That's another point. What's he doing in Rwanda? I thought he had COVID. Has he got the? I don't know. Has he been in isolation? In isolation long enough? I don't know.
I've lost track, Lowell. I don't know anymore. God,
what a guy.
Boo Boo's opinion on YouTube: all three will walk the plank at the same time. 3 parallel planks and a bottomless pit at the end. Kim says he's in Rwanda to visit and talk about opening an embassy there. That is what I heard this morning on the news. Like, that is important at this point in time. Running away again, she says. All right, back to the top of the list. So we're talking Sens, and of course we're talking this scandal.
Yeah.
Chrissy says it's been a long time coming regarding the arena. A great idea, makes more sense, and will attract more fans, concerts, etc. She believes. Moving the Sens to LeBreton Flats, a great idea, adds Craig. Joshua says, with the number of false starts on the new arena, I wouldn't doubt there being other hurdles.
All right. Well, there'll always be hurdles. You're not going to build a major project without hurdles. You can be sure that the leftists will step in here. The usual suspects at City Council will try and put a stop to this, just as they tried to put a stop to the Palladium when.
Oh, God.
Remember that?
Carp River?
Oh, God, yeah. Sending a canoe. Now, I know the problem here is if they send a canoe up the Ottawa River, I have news for you. The canoe will make it up the Ottawa River. So I don't, but you can be sure the leftists, the leftists call themselves progressive. They are the most retrogressive people in the world. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to build anything. If the so-called progressives had their way, we'd be back in the Stone Age. They don't want highways built. They don't want us driving cars. They don't want to build houses. It's unbelievable. Don't build this arena. Don't do that. It's like, I'm not sure what kind of a life these people want. Oh, I know. They want windmills. Windmills. Oh, by the way, windmills. And I'm surprised. You know what? Every time I post this on Facebook, I hardly get any response, and I don't know why. I posted it at noon today. Wind and solar combined in Ontario is producing 5.5% of our needs. For this, we've spent $8 to $10 billion. Folks, this is why we don't have health care. They spent all of the money on windmills. Let me ask you, though, would you sooner have a hospital? Would you sooner have more nurses? Would you sooner have less waiting time in the emergency ward? Or would you prefer windmills? Well, we got windmills. Thank you, Liberals. Go ahead, John.
I think we can all agree that is definitely a river. It is navigable. My concern is, will we encounter birds' nests?
It was birds nesting that got the progressives to stop the Trans Mountain, right? So we can't get oil to China so they can get off coal, but
it delayed Blues Fest as well. They found a bird's nest over at LeBreton Flats, and they delayed putting up Blues Fest for a couple of weeks. Anyway,
I also love every time I drive along Terry Fox. And now there's a couple of other roads. I see these little fences. It's the Blanding Turtle fences. Millions of dollars. We don't have enough money, to give our seniors more than one bath a week in long-term care. But we got money for Blanding Turtles. These progressives, they're the most dangerous people in the world. Go ahead.
All right. We know why Trudeau is in Rwanda. The Commonwealth Summit, according to Carl. The Commonwealth Summit. There you go.
Okay.
We already know that wind and solar sucks, says Anne. Elias, how does Justin get away with his bullshit? It's obvious he's corrupt, pompous, and pretentious. Let's go back to some of the other comments. Trudeau's lying again. He's a lying sack of excrement. Okay. Anne says it was egregiously heartless of the Trudeau government, but not surprising to capitalize politically on a tragedy like what happened in Nova Scotia.
Now that's at the heart of it. if in fact this is true, and please keep in mind, these are from the notes taken at the time by Darren Campbell, chief superintendent, and also by the communications director, Leah Scanlon. So it's not as if they're recalling this from memory. These are notes that are taken. If in fact Brenda Lucky didn't say these things, why would Darren Campbell write them in his notes? You have to ask yourself that. Go ahead, please, John.
Let's go to Anne. No, we just read Anne. Eileen says, what about that big library? We could have had a fantastic hospital with all of that money.
You know what? Absolutely. This, I for the life of me, don't understand. We're spending what, $300 million on a new public library? Nobody goes to libraries anymore. Nobody reads books anymore, hardcover books. If they want to do something, you know what should happen? They should build a kind of, I don't know, internet cafe, a really nice, fancy internet cafe, small, but with all the latest computer devices. You could be there giving lessons on computers and so forth. I mean, hardly anybody buys or reads hardcover books anymore. They just don't. I mean, why we would build this huge monstrosity of a building? You're right. Build a hospital instead. Hire 100 nurses, for God's sake. You know what it is? It's just that the city councilors who approve this get to put their names on the cornerstone. Go ahead, John.
I believe your idea for a cafe is referred to in the public or in the private sector as Starbucks. I'm just going to put that out there. 613.
No, I'm talking about something really sophisticated, okay? Make it really nice. Make it, all glass with a view of the river and so forth, all the rest of it.
Yeah, Starbucks.
But essentially, this is where, you can order or you can read your books via the computer. Go ahead.
Let's go to text, 613-413-2217. Your calls are welcome as well. I'm all for moving the Senators downtown. The Canadian Tire Centre can be repurposed as a concert venue or an indoor sports facility. I believe Blair and Trudeau certainly tried to influence this. That is his modus operandi. When questioned about it, he will say, we learn from this and we will improve again. 613.
Yeah, and don't forget, they will have our backs too. Go ahead.
Barry feels we need a winning team in order to fill an arena that big. Barry, I think, is a Leafs fan. Okay. Or a Habs fan. Don't you know that the Liberals always boot the bottom of the totem pole, and that's who gets chopped? All right.
It's going to be interesting to see if this gets much hotter, and I suspect that it will. The opposition, except Jagmeet Singh, what a sorry excuse for a man, right? He's there very quietly saying, well, we must make sure that the justice is not being tampered with and so forth. But would he approve a public inquiry? He wouldn't say, of course not. Would he vote against? Would he bring Trudeau to his knees? Of course not. Go ahead.
All right, Kellyanne on Facebook. Honestly, I don't care if they build an arena on LeBreton Flats. I still won't be able to buy a ticket for a game. I'm too broke because of the higher cost of living.
What do you got? I don't understand your complaint. Inflation's only 7.7%. It's only it was this high. Now this is very interesting. Brian Lilly points this out in the Sun today. The last time inflation was this high was 1983. Now who was prime minister at the time? It was another Trudeau.
There we go.
By the way, I remember that time very well. I must tell you. Mortgage rates went from 18 to 20%.
Yep.
I had a mortgage on a cottage that I had to renew. I renewed it at 18%. It almost killed me. I'll never forget that. That was under the former Trudeau. Go ahead.
Yeah, my dad was talking about that on the weekend. I said, yep, Lowell talks about that often.
Oh, boy.
Let's see. Bill says the Senators in the new arena would be one of the best things ever for this city. All right, Joshua, the Liberals using a tragedy to prey on people's emotions. They just did the very same thing with the incident in Texas. How shocked can we be at this point? Cheryl thinks it's great the Ottawa Senators are moving downtown for a couple of reasons. First, it helps to disperse allegations that the hockey club would be moving following the passing of Eugene Melnyk, because, after all, why invest this money into a new rink if the team would be relocated? Also, another thing. It will help breathe new life into LeBreton Flats, creating a renewed and vibrant spot in the downtown core that will definitely attract more investment from other parties, such as restaurants, eateries, as well as concerts and live events. And it's more accessible via public transport than having it in Canada. So all that being said, she says, go, Sens, go. All right.
Okay. Good.
Craig says the Liberals have no record of truth telling, only lies. I don't believe any of the Liberals. Long Point Driver is on Twitch. She says she's more inclined to believe Written Notes Guy. Doesn't know his name. He's Written Notes Guy.
Yeah, Darren Campbell. He's the
Go.
RCMP superintendent of Nova Scotia. It was in his written notes. And once again, I have to ask, why, if in fact this was not said, why would he make something like, how could he possibly make something like that up if it didn't happen? It's not, as I say, he's not recalling this from memory. He is recalling this from the notes that he wrote at the time. As a good officer will do, good policeman will do, something like this, you take notes at the time to refresh your memory, etc., etc. And it also, during testimony, if you can refer to your notes, it adds a lot of weight to the testimony. Well, here we go. He's referring to his notes. He says Brenda Leckie told him she had promised Justin Trudeau and Bill Blair that the make of the gun would be announced because it would help them in their gun legislation. And she went on to say, according to the notes, that this was important for public safety. Go ahead, John. By the way, I have to take a break here. Talking about telling the truth, that's what you're going to get at Shields. Okay, there's no baloney, no malarkey at Shields. If they quote you a price, that's it. And the prices are all very carefully marked. You'll see it there. www.shields.ca. Some great savings, folks, on a lot of appliances. And one of the things, too, that's very important, Shields has a big warehouse. There is what is called an in-stock supplier. They don't have to send away to Toronto or China or Timbuktu for the furniture. It's in the warehouse. 99% sure they're going to have exactly what you want in the warehouse, which means it can be in your home within a few days, right? No long waits there. Prices very compare the prices. Go to the website, shields.ca. Good people. Yes, John.
Back to Facebook, and another comment from Kellyanne. As far as the Trudeau thing with the Nova Scotia massacre, it is shameful of him to use such a tragedy to promote gun control. If this is true, all of them should resign, but Trudeau won't resign. Both Lucky and Blair will most likely take the fall. Maggie remembers building a house in 1983. The interest on the mortgage was a scary 19% and renewed 5 years later at 13%.
Let me tell you, I don't know if I've ever told this story about interest rates, because it's not just as it applies to mortgages, homes, etc. It's 1983. I am one of the owners of Ottawa Travel, which at the time was one of the largest travel agencies in the city. We decided to buy Algonquin Travel, our major competitor. And in order to do this, we took out a sizable loan. We were able to handle it. It was a very profitable business. We took out a sizable loan to buy Algonquin Travel. We did all of the math and so forth. We could afford the payments. Almost overnight, the interest payments on the loan from the bank doubled. You have no idea what this did to us. And I only mention this, the fact that the same thing must have happened to hundreds, if not thousands, of other businesses out there. You take out a loan, an interest rate, and then suddenly the interest skyrocket. In this case, the interest payments doubled. We made it, but I tell you, it was very, very tough indeed. No fault of our own. We had planned, we'd done everything properly. Everything was done properly, but suddenly interest rates just skyrocketed. That's just one of the consequences. Go ahead, John, please.
All right, sir, let's go to email. The address here is lowell@blasttheradio.com. By the way, if you listen to the show after the live broadcast, whether you listen on podcast, etc., or watch the video later, your comments after the show are always welcome. I will pass them on to Lowell for you. So Paul says, hi, Lowell. The RCMP commissioner is appointed by the PM and works under the guidance of the public safety minister. Yes, they put pressure on her for political gains, and the pressure went down the chain. If we don't want this to happen again in the future, we need to change this structure of the RCMP reporting to politicians. There will be other hyper-political people in power at some point too. Paul.
But you would think that Trudeau would have learned his lesson after the Lavalin situation. I mean, here he's caught with his pants down, and a barefaced lie, claiming that he had not tried to interfere when very clearly he had. You would think that he would have learned his lesson. You cannot involve yourself in matters of justice and policing. Yeah, but apparently, I mean, when he says, well, we're going to learn from this, very clearly he didn't learn from this. If you believe Campbell, If you believe is written, no. If you don't, if you're a liberal and NDP and you believe Trudeau and Blair, well, that's a different story. Go ahead.
Great line from Terry. How long did Justin have to wait for his passport?
Yeah, you see this. You know what? There's almost a revolution. Some people are pitching tents in order to get a passport.
I know.
This is a totally, absolutely incompetent government at everything they do. They are so bad. I've never seen anything like it. Stumbling, bumbling, incompetent, corrupt, scandals, and yet they remain in power. And there is Jagmeet Singh voting for them. Go ahead.
Regarding the new arena, Anne says, I think LeBreton Flats will be a much better venue for concerts, much more central to get to. Look how many people already go to Blues Fest every single year. All right, Hazel says, I lost a cousin in that horrible event. If Trudeau is involved in hiding information regarding guns, he should be fired immediately. This is disgusting, she says. With all the corruption that's been going on in the Liberal Party, it's called sunny ways, says Eileen. Kathy says, lie after lie, scandal after scandal. Trudeau and his Liberals will use any person, any group as their fall guy. I believe Campbell on his report.
I have another question. Is this the scandal that's finally going to convince a few people that maybe they shouldn't vote Liberal again? Or is this like one scandal over the line? It's not one toke over the line, one scandal over the line. I don't know. Go ahead, please.
All depends on how much media attention gets to the people. And if the people are actually paying attention to anything the media has to say about it.
Actually, John, I'm really surprised. A lot of commentators, editorialists who normally are pro-Trudeau are really upset about this one.
Okay.
If you read the press today, now I haven't had a chance to see the Toronto Star. I'm sure they'll find some way to alibi Trudeau on this. But for the most part, the media is not very kind to Trudeau on this one. Go ahead, John.
613-413-2217. Here's a text. Trudeau did learn his lesson, Lowell, and that is that he can get away with it, with just an explanation that he will learn from it again. Let me see. I think karma is getting too close for Trudeau, says Fran. Kelly's back with another comment. He absolutely does not care. He's corrupt as they come. He's so hell-bent on gun control, he doesn't care how he goes about it. Calling the Liberals incompetent is becoming an insult to incompetent people, says Joshua.
Okay, if you can think of another word that's even worse than incompetent, let me know what it is.
All right, Carrie doesn't think we need to move hockey to LeBreton Flats. Cheryl says, I don't trust Brenda Lucki, Justin Trudeau, or Bill Blair. I believe where there's smoke, there's fire, and to exploit a terrible tragedy for political gain is disgraceful. All three should resign in disgrace. But as always, nothing sticks to Teflon Trudeau. Tom says the arena should stay right where it is. Timothy says these guns will do nothing. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Okay. Timothy, Trudeau can't tell the truth either. Okay. Mike says, I got mixed feelings about the arena. I guess if LRT is problem-free by then, ... Ray, Trudeau wants to make sure the guy used an AR-15, which he wants banned. And Corleen says, Trudeau gets the COVID convenient variant.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay. This is the first time. So that's what it was. He wanted indication that it was an AR. What is it?
Sorry, I went through that really, really fast, Lowell. I should slow down.
Yeah.
Ray said Trudeau wanted to make sure the guy used an AR-15, which is a weapon that Trudeau wants banned.
Okay, I wonder if that's what this is. That now it begins to sort of tie together. So he must have had information that it was an AK-15, and this is a gun. Oh, I get it. Go ahead, please.
Another text. How many scandals did the provincial government have before being booted out? Maybe it will be the same for the feds before the Liberal voters wake up. It's a text at 613-413-2217. Another email coming in. Thursday comment. I think this is similar to the Lansdowne Park deal, parts 1 and 2. It's all about condominiums. When we see the proposal, for sure the arena will not be the main part of the proposal. Keep an eye out for 8 or 10 tall condo buildings. In fact, if you go to the Sens website right now, the plans do show the arena surrounded by a number of condos and offices.
Well, yeah, this is how you finance these things. But one of the things that really puzzles me is on one hand, we have the leftists out there saying, we got to build more homes. We've got more homes. There's a real home shortage. And yet when the developers step forward with plans to build homes, it's the developers, a greedy bunch of developers. I don't want to build it. I don't want this. I don't want this guy. It's like There's no sense to what's going on here. We need a lot more homes in this country, and the people that build them are the developers. They develop the home. They build the homes. Go ahead, John.
You know what? I think we're about half past the hour. This is a good place to stop. The rest of the comments that I didn't get a chance to read to you on the air, Lowell, I will forward via email.
Wonderful. Thank you all, folks. Good comments today. I really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.